Let's talk about money.
Let's talk about it.
We're in a cost of living crisis in the UK, and many countries around the world are either in or on the brink of recession. So one of the most popular questions we've had at the Diary of a CEO in the last 3 to 6 months is about money, people's concern about their own money, spending, finance, and saving. If I'm someone out there now that has, I don't know, $100 or £100 worth of disposable income every month, or if I have £1,000 or £10,000, what should I be thinking about as it relates to creating more money and making myself financially free?
The first thing is you just want to earn more. People massively settle for how much they could earn. So the first place I think to invest is in yourself. But here's the first principle. The first principle is income follows assets. Income follows assets means that the more assets you have, the more income you'll earn. If I want rental income, first I need a house. If I want dividend income, I need shares. If I want to be paid as a brand ambassador, first I need a brand. So essentially, the more we can accumulate assets, the more easy and effortless the money flows. So we have to figure out, well, what assets could you accumulate and what assets could you formalize and own? I wrote a book called 24 Assets, and I listed out all the different digital assets that are new economy assets that people could have, things like brand and positioning, things like databases, things like company culture is an asset now. So I talk about how do you formalize those things. If someone's just starting out and they've got 100 a month, to be perfectly honest, trying to invest 100 a month or any of that, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to change your life. But if you put that into your own skills and your own development, let's say you don't have negotiation skills. Well, there are courses that you can take for $100 that give you negotiation skills. Let's say you don't know how to close sales. You can take a course on how to make sales. Let's say you don't feel confident public speaking. You could do a public speaking course. So there are things that allow you to gain your skills. The other thing too is money is relationships. So if you don't have a lot of money, you typically don't have a lot of relationships. You might have a limited number of relationships or a limited number of relationships with people who have a flow of money. When you have a high degree of relationships with people who've got money flowing, it's very effortless for that to flow to and from you as well. So you might have to invest in relationships. When I arrived in the UK, I knew that one of the places that I would meet interesting people would be private banks. So I didn't qualify for private bank, but I went into a private bank and I said, I'm going to be launching a business and of course it's going to be great and successful. I want to bank with a private bank. Do you have an entrepreneurs program? Oh yeah, we did. And they start selling me joining the entrepreneurs program. Now it cost me £600 to open an account with that private bank, but they immediately invited me to dinners and they invited me to networkings and all these sorts of things in the private bank. One of the things that I've recommended a lot of people do is host dinner parties and reach out to people who you don't know. Here's a silly story. I was just in Dubai and I know someone who has a 100-foot yacht. So I said, Jeremy, can I borrow your yacht for the evening? I'm going to be putting 15 really influential people for a dinner party. We're going to have burgers on the boat. And he said, oh, great, can I come? And I said, of course you can come. It's your boat, right? So he said, great, that'll be exciting. So he basically said, you can host this party on my 100-foot boat. So I reached out to all the people who I didn't know and I said, hey, we're putting together burgers on the boat. Would you like to come along and have some burgers with interesting people? And then they came along and I made the investment into relationship. Now, the funny thing is a lot of people say, oh, but you know someone with a 100-foot yacht. Funny thing is I think plenty of people who have a boat, especially in Dubai, it sits empty most of the time. You could reach out to 30 people and say, we're going to do it on someone's boat. Would you like it to be your boat with or without you energy? So making investments into relationships is a really powerful thing. For $100 a month, personally, what would I do with $100 a month? Take people out to dinner. That would be my number one investment. I'd probably be taking people out to dinner.
Why?
The investment into the relationship. So I would be inviting the most interesting people I could possibly invite. If I had the ability for $100 a month, I guess that's one dinner. So I would reach out to someone interesting and say, I've seen your story. I've seen what you're interested in. Can I take you out for lunch? Can I take you out for dinner? It's my shout. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. Obviously, don't do that with someone who's famous. You get 100 of those a day. I get plenty of those a day. Reach out to someone who's not famous, but who's accomplished, who's successful, who's a mentor-esque type person, not necessarily a superstar, but someone who's a few steps ahead. Take those people out to lunch, take them out to dinner.
Would you say in that message that, you talk about calls, I talk about emails. What would someone have to say to you, considering where you are in your life now with all the inquiries you get, for you to actually go for a coffee with them?
So
bear in mind, everyone's going to email you and say this.
Yeah. Well, it happened today, actually. Someone said, Daniel, I noticed in the background of one of your photos that you have an amazing Fender Stratocaster. I teach people how to play guitar. I would love the opportunity to do a guitar lesson with you and help you to shred on that guitar. And it was really nice. He had watched my podcasts in the past. He had noticed the guitar. He reached out with something that was valuable for me. And he said, I'd love to have a chat with you and teach you how to play some guitar. And obviously I'll have a chat with him while we do that. But that was it felt like a good connection. I also had a look at his profile, and he looked like a really lovely person, who's getting on with doing stuff. There's a bit of with or without you energy as well, in terms of, I can see this person's up to stuff.